Okay, I think we're live.
Give me 1 second. All right, you're good.
Okay, good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Budget Task Force. I'm going to try that again. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Budget Task Force. My name is Roberta Barnett. I am the chair of the Budget Task Force. Uh, we are meeting this evening in a hybrid fashion. We do not presently have quorum, though the meeting is open both for streaming online as well as for members of the public to join, engage, and to share their comments. All of the discussions that occur tonight will be recorded and will ultimately be provided as recommendations in a letter that will be written subsequent to this meeting. That letter will then be presented before full board prior to that presentation on likely this Friday. The letter will be available to the public for additional refinements, comments, and additions. The letter will address specifically the mayor's very recently released preliminary budget for FY 2026. And this is a response to that specifically, but also a response to our previously submitted statement of district needs that we put forward this fall to the city. Anything else to add here?
I think that goes, it's fine.
Okay, so the way that I think would be easiest to move forward this evening would be first to run very quickly through some of the highlights of the mayor's budget and specifically ones that relate to some of our top programs. I went through this. If you would like to follow along to some of the things I'm saying, I went through the budget presentation, the executive budget presentation, but I'm also happy to sort of rattle off some of the items. I'll also list the page numbers. If you're seeking this document in the Dropbox, it's FY26 prelim budget summary. There are some much more extensive documents in the Dropbox as well, but uh, we won't cover them in this meeting this evening. So I did want to highlight some of the items that were highlighted by the mayor. The first being concern over uncertainty of federal funds and the various projects that exist in our district and our various capital needs in particular. We would echo that based on our previous statement of district needs. Um, I then, on page 24 of that presentation, there is a list of commitments to homeless assistance programs. One of the top items in our statement of district needs was homeless outreach, and housing affordability remains a very high on our list of district priorities. So it would commend the mayor's approach to add safe haven beds and to create a program. It's a pilot program to provide homeless New Yorkers who have serious mental illness and or substance abuse with um, housing and services, which is something very akin to one of the budget requests that we have made. So I think that we
Well,
would commend the mayor for
do you want to share your screen on that, or would you want me to, or how do you want, or?
that. If you would like to put up the prelim budget summary, that works. If not, it I'm gonna try and go as quickly through the items as possible.
See if I can get to it.
But if not, for those who are joining, this information is available in the Dropbox. Um, in the You can click through from the MCB4 website to the Dropbox to the prelim budget presentation, the prelim budget summary, and I'll put forward the page numbers as well. That was page 24 if you are following along. And these are homeless housing programs similar to ones that we have supported in the past. So we would want to commend the mayor. At the same time, we would want to reiterate our request for additional street outreach and um, as one of our top
I thought
priorities.
one of the major topics we had was to create more housing, right?
Mhm.
And I don't see in that program a lot of housing there, or am I missing something?
I do think that the creation of housing is, or at least where they think of it, is under affordability on pages 28 and 29. Whereas this, I think that they're focusing, this category of the summary is focused here on homeless assistance programs specifically. They lean very heavily on the passage of some major zoning reforms, as well as the uh, several $billion of capital that came with the passage or came alongside the passage of City of Yes at the end of last year. Just to go a little bit out of order, the so the mayor does note the supply, notes the City of Yes, and obviously we would note our understanding of the supply, note our affordable housing plan. Um, but we would also note the need for agency staffing to ensure that, as we grow that supply, we do so in a way that is not harmful to existing residents and existing housing stock, so that we can do that with some balance. And that's pulling from another one of the budget task force items. I don't know if there are additional comments that you think that we should add specifically to either the homeless piece or the housing affordability piece that the city brings in on pages 28 and 29 of the summary, but we can definitely add those to the letter.
Sorry, guys, I was on it. Sorry, give me one second.
It's a little confusing because it seems page 24, they are addressing mostly mental,
Mhm.
and not homelessness. You know what I'm saying?
That is, yes, that is
I think,
their primary.
right. I think we should also add again one comment about, really addressing homelessness, especially for families, etc., and dedicating, affordable housing or any housing available to help them. So
Okay, so
that would
connecting
be
the
my
homelessness
comment.
and the housing.
Yeah,
What page are you guys on again? I'm sorry, it took us a bit to
I
load.
was on 24.
24. And 24 being like the bottom of the page number.
This is
I
the
don't know
summary.
if, yeah, this is the summary. And I believe if you are on the PDF page, it is page 22 of 43, but on the presentation in the bottom, like right-hand corner,
Okay,
it is
got it.
24.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there. And so I think Christine made a great point. I think Kevin may also have a point in that vein.
Yeah, thanks, Roberta. To the degree that it's relevant, it might be helpful background material. Hope puts out each year, I believe, a report, and the number unfortunately shows the homeless going up. And tomorrow night is the annual Hope count, so I'm going to be out there with folks doing the count from 10 o'clock at night to 4 o'clock in the morning. On I signed up for West 61st Street, so I'm glad to report back like what we see in person. But I couldn't agree more with what Christine's articulating is that the need for housing, inclusive of, but not just limited to folks who might have mental issues.
Oh, it's also a great plug for the Hope Count. And please report back if we can sort of add a little bit of human color to this. I know we'll eventually get the actual updated counts, and they keep rising. The past couple of years have been, just staggering in terms of the increases. So I'm
Unfortunately,
sure,
right?
yeah, I don't really think that trend is abating, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Any other comments on the on homelessness and housing and other, discussions we want to bring or comments you'd want to bring into
So this
this
is
set
what
of recommendation.
Yeah, I think that just connecting it specifically to our community, and the issues that we've had and the fact that we happen to have a lot of temporary shelters as well as permanent shelters in the community. I think that might be helpful to highlight, to say that this is not just a statistical problem, but it is a community problem because it is existing directly within this community, and we applaud this administration for being creative and focusing on how to alleviate that, and also to create programs that may directly reduce the number of street homeless.
Great suggestion. Absolutely would both connect it to these shelters that we have here, and I think appreciating just different programs, because going back to what Christine said, the homelessness has a number of different related causes and factors, probably the biggest of which is housing, but then, to help people get into homes, it is appreciated that there are different venues to help different people.
The other thing is that this is all under the heading of keeping New York safe. One of the big asks we had in our high ranking ask in the budget was police, policing on in the street. And when you look at the responses, all of them is no. First of all, we don't support it and we don't want to do it. So I think either here or in our analysis of the response, saying safety is fine, but you need to put people on the ground,
And I think that's a great point, and certainly something it leads nicely into, if we want to go to page 26, over here.
Yeah.
There is this is under the banner of keeping New Yorkers safe. We're talking about infrastructure to do that, but nowhere is there, the foot patrols that I think are the number one request that people have. And how, the addition of the infrastructure is great. And it's very good to see some degree of, street safety here, which I know we have advocated. I don't know if these specifically, but for some design improvements relating to safety, but those are good, but they are $3.9 million and a very small bite at the apple in a very, very large and complex public safety problem, the biggest piece of which the city does not appear to be addressing directly in this discussion.
Right. Yeah, I'm concerned about that.
I think highlighting, a big paragraph on the need for the foot patrols is important. Are there other particular safety items that we'd want to react to over here?
No, I don't think we want to say too many things so it gets lost, right? You want to keep it
absolutely
few punchy items, right?
Roberta,
no, that
you might have said this at the beginning. The goal for the letter, for the response, is to sort of to be kind of the same format as last time, right? Which is you have it broken up into topics and we kind of respond accordingly. Okay, yeah.
And to kind of use the mayor's budget as a jumping off point, but to also where there is an absence of a topic, to make sure that we are addressing our top 10 capital expense.
Yeah.
And expense and capital, yeah.
Moving on from the safety item on page 28 and then 29, we get back into that affordability piece. So I guess first on 28, there's that City of Yes talking about additional housing supply, but we know, in many different respects, that there are opportunities to add significantly more housing than that via neighborhood specific and site specific rezonings, and talking about plugging the affordable housing plan. It also offers opportunity to plug the budget ask that was, additional technical and staffing support at DOB and HPD to support all of the additional housing development here.
Yeah, I
Are
think
there
that's
any
key.
others? Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think that's key. Those two requests in this. I don't
So
know anything about
is it the
the,
place where we make kind of a list, a high level list of key projects we have that we want them to be funded? Because for example, I just looked at the response for the slaughterhouse, right? And they said, no, we're not doing it. So it's like, what are you talking about?
Also, I was under the impression that we had gotten the funding for the slaughterhouse. I don't know if what has changed is like the financing environment,
I think,
but
yeah, the financing doesn't completely work. But now that there are a lot more
yeah.
subsidies, talking about the financing, talking about the sites we have, which are, I think a paragraph there saying we have a number of sites which are targeted or ready to go, and funding should be provided for those, something like that. I mean, not.
yeah, I mean, I think we can highlight, right, you can highlight Slaughterhouse, you can highlight Harborview. You can even highlight the multifamily and the senior program that we highlighted, that.
Well, the multifamily, they said yes.
So we could do both. We could both
Right.
say thank you for,
But I think
saying
we
yes,
have
this is
new
also important.
sites. We have the Hunter site, we have the marshalling site now, right? Which is
yeah.
state. But
Yeah.
But I'm talking about just city. We have 3 or 4 sites that they could be interested in investing in.
I agree, I think we should somewhat limit it to the sites that we either are like, should have been done by now, like Slaughterhouse.
Right.
Or have an active RFP out that have never been responded to, like Harborview.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think those are two perfect examples of just move already.
Right.
If the financing doesn't work for for Slaughterhouse, then we need to
do something. Right.
Do something, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah. And it's appropriate because as part of City of Yes, there was that, but extra $1 billion in commitment.
Yeah.
Or 2 billion in commitment toward this particular objective. So it is reasonable to highlight specifically the budget asks for particular projects. And we can also add, we would welcome further, affordable projects at the sites on public land, city and state owned land. But we can leave that open so we focus specifically on the recommendation.
So I feel like we talked about housing, public safety. I'm just going down here, the past letter. We have sanitation and transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next place we could go, the one thing I did want to highlight before we leave this slide is next page on 29. There is a anti-tenant harassment program that I know was not something that we explicitly asked for ourselves, but we do see issues relating to harassment, particularly in the special districts. And I know that there were expressed community concerns surrounding that with perceived increased development pressure due to liberalizing the zoning. So, I think it would be appropriate to say, we appreciate this and hope to see how it would become available to our neighbors who are already experiencing this type of treatment from their building owners.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, because we have a whole section about preservation. I think this locks right into that. And we've just seen a rash. I mean, I think you're going to see another set of buildings that we're seeing that are owned by the one company that basically are being left to fall apart on 49th Street there. You're gonna have that coming to housing probably this month. And so we're seeing a rash of that. And so I think highlighting that is a good idea. Or saying more, saying thank you, but more.
Yes, and you know, I think we can sort of use that as an opportunity to highlight some of our specific problems. And I think Jesse alluded to the block on 49th Street. And I will, you know, I don't think Maria is here, but I will make sure to connect with Maria so that we have the specific housing item that we can feature there to explain how we would perhaps like to connect that addition to the budget to a problem that, well, we haven't, you know, listed the specific issue, we have listed the broader issue as a problem in our budgetary request. The last item, though, on the mayor's budget that I did want to take a look at was the sort of quality of life section. And this is on pages 34 and 35 of the summary. I think that these are sort of particularly the first two in, you know, expanding the like parks and shift cleaning of the parks department as well as additional staff. I it sounds like it's probably sanitation staff, but it may be park staff, but to address the trash and cleaning in our parks, something that both that I believe was part of our budget request, but also has been an issue in the committees, and then the same with um, rat rat population and issues with trash in the street beds. So while those are, we would want to connect them more specifically to the some of the actual requests that we've made to be able to highlight them and say that, you know, more staff and more attention in our parks that is of interest. We may also want to ask more information about these programs and if they will actually touch this community district, because I don't know if the specifics are public yet.
So again, just because we want to make it very specific to our community, I think that we named some of the parks where we've had problems with not just trash, but in very, very specific needle trash. We happen to have at least 5 parks where there's an enormous amount of drug paraphernalia in and around the parks. And I think that we should take that opportunity to highlight that we have parks that have a trash problem, and that it specifically in some of these parks is a needle problem.
Okay. I think that I will make sure to connect with Leslie and Marty to confirm that I have the specific parks and their details like all correct. But I think that's a very, very good suggestion. And hopefully we can incorporate that into the letter.
I think we have, I'm sorry.
No, Roberta, I think just your clarification, because it does sound like this is a sanitation kind of issue. From the conversations that our Parks Committee has been having of late is really around getting the park police. What were they?
Pep.
Yeah, PEP officers there, because it's just so egregious how so few there are. So I think that from a quality of life perspective or a safety perspective, that feels like more of an important fund issue that we would ask for as it relates to parks than like tree bed cleaning. I mean, not to say that like tree bed cleaning isn't important, because it's definitely killing our trees when the trees have all this trash in them. But that's, I just want to make that clarification.
You know, but I
Right.
think that the PEP
Yeah.
should probably go where in the section, respond to the section making New York safe. I think we missed one page because that making New York safe was 2 pages. It doesn't really say anything specifically like what Christine was bringing up about additional foot patrols, but that would be an appropriate area to say additionally to keep our parks safe, right? So
Yeah,
that,
that's where we put it in the budget. We put it in the safety category, so that would belong there. But I mean, you know, good point of where are you putting your money? Is it in cleaning the tree pits or in putting more peps? I mean,
The cleaning the tree pits, if you read it right, it's all about rats. Like this is like, this all.
yeah, it's a sanitation issue, right?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
this is all connected to rats, so I agree, I think that we have a specific budget request for PEP officers. I think we should, it's in there as one of, as Christine said, it's kind of one of our multi-pronged approach to the public safety issue, so. Whether we put it in parks or in public safety, I don't know if it really matters, but I think it's something we highlight and say that this is not being addressed. Like I was saying, it's not being addressed in the budget,
Yeah.
similar to the office.
I only mentioned the separation because in fact, this section is quality of life issues, which is more
Right.
things that aren't about safety. And there is a section on safety that doesn't mention anything about PEP officers, doesn't
Yeah.
mention anything like Christine mentioned about additional foot patrols, et cetera. So, you know, if we're highlighting, you know, we applaud that they're looking to improve quality of life. These are some of the specific areas that we have these issues that you're already trying to work on. And then bring back into the safety issue saying, we also need safety in our green spaces and additional funding for hiring of PEP officers could go a long way to making New Yorkers feel safer in their parks.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to connect the two. The quality of life and the safety sort of connect very nicely in the same way that, we saw the connection between the, social services and homeless programs to the housing. And so we can kind of bridge that with maybe a transition between the two. Keeping them.
I would also go back to the needles, I think that is, we have a specific request in there, and that's under sanitation, because that's the only department that has a trained, I think, crew though to do that, and so that's why it was under sanitation, but we recognize that it's clearly. It does, just because sanitation's a job, doesn't mean that's where they all end up. Out on the sidewalk waiting for a sanitation truck to come pick them up, so, I think we have to that is clearly something we had specifically asked for, and I think their response was basically like, we support it, but we don't have the ability to actually do it right now or something, I don't have it in front of me, but.
Well, I think this is an opportunity because of the fact that the mayor has now put forth a budget that is specifically talking about cleaning parks. It's just an opportunity to go ahead and connect those two. If there's a political will, if there's ever a political will for something, just jump on it. So maybe we don't get all of our parks clean, but maybe we get them to focus on saying, okay, well, maybe we need to start training specifically some of our park employees to clean up needles, so it's not just the two sanitation folks that are assigned to Manhattan, right? That type of thing.
Yeah.
I know, I think that's a great point, making that connection that is the specific need, not simply that second shift cleaning in general, the sharps and other biohazard items, the environmental police subjects, so to speak, in particular. I think that is about where the relevant topics from the budget summary end and where we might want to move to just looking at the responses to the budget. And this is also in the Dropbox. I don't know if there were any further comments that anyone wanted to raise before we did that, but I think that it seems like a good transition time.
I think referencing these things specifically from the summary is smart. So I think anytime you can reference it and make, even if it's in the page, even you're referencing the page to the summary, it's still. So someone does have to read this, they connect it to the document that you're reviewing, so.
Question for
Yep.
the group. This is my first time at this meeting. I wanted to, so we're not getting a list of, yes, no to our requests at this point? Like, when do we know when our requests have been fulfilled or not fulfilled?
So this is a preliminary, right? So this is the
Yeah.
first shot. So what typically happens is this is where the agency gives a response, a general response to it. And then the executive budget, which, gets done in June, is when we'll find out. I will say that we get a final response from the city, but that's really like the city's budget office, which is OMB, just saying we agree with the agency or don't agree with the agency. Like, most of the time they're gonna agree with the agency. If that is basically saying, we'll try to, well, either it's, the answer is, we'll try to fund it with existing,
Yeah,
or no. I mean, there are times when they'll say, oh yeah, we will cover this. We usually know that information though, right? We'll know that before that response, right?
okay.
Some agency will say, oh, yes, no, we're gonna put money, you'll hear from, Eric Boxer's office, so they put money into the 128 West 17th Street former college school number 4. Okay, great, we know that, so, by that,
So, yeah, that's like the official sort of deadline, but you're
yeah,
saying we start to know directionally before that, like starting in May?
No, we
Well,
know
yeah,
now, that's
I
the
was-
document.
Now?
I
Yeah.
would say about
So-
certain projects, like, sorry, we don't see you up on the screen, hold on one second, guys. From certain projects, I don't think we'll learn about like, are we gonna get all of the garbage baskets that we want in our district, or are we gonna get, like, is the transportation project gonna be, completely funded, but everything is on its own
I
kind of
see.
timeline, but like by June, the deal is done. I will say it usually takes a couple months after that for it to shake out, to see like what really got agreed to.
Mhm.
Cause they're dealing with big packages, right? We're worried about 34th Street or, a park, and they're dealing with large bundles of
Right.
money for an entire agency, and so.
Correct.
Where does that settle?
Okay, so we're basically just saying, all right, the directional movement, like in terms of the budgets and the things that you've highlighted to us, the city, that you guys are going to do, aligns or doesn't align with our community's specific priorities.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, every community board handles this, first of all, this is not something we have to do, we choose to do it, but every community board handles it very differently. So one person can simply just take the documents that they're producing, the summary, the executive report, the expense report, the capital report, and respond to that. Other people can just simply say, look at their budget requests, and
mhm,
so,
mhm.
so it's up to each community board how they manage it, but the goal is what you're saying, which is saying. You're saying you wanna focus on this, we agree with it, but we think also you should be focusing on that, or course correcting this way or something.
Yeah, it's another great opportunity for us to kind of plug our specific
Yeah,
meeting. Okay, clear.
It is a good transition though to, taking a look. My hope is to just kind of go through our top, some of the top priorities, probably just go to the top 10. Obviously, there will be the opportunity to raise others and add them, but those are the ones where, when we have this sort of synthesis letter, it makes sense to respond both to what the mayor is putting out there and then make sure that to the extent that the mayor is not mentioning something, it could be NYCHA in particular here, we're keeping that as a high priority in our letter, either saying thank you for making sure this was possible, or for the assuring words that you've said about this, or it is very important to us, please can keep at it, in addition to the jumping off point that is the mayor's executive budget. Jesse, do you have the ability to put them up?
thanks to Dolores is.
You?
Yeah, so you guys see that?
So, yeah, and page 1, I guess, is page 11 of the PDF.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I wanted to.
This is the actual report that it would have spit out.
Oh, no, that's what I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Give me 1 second. It's not the wrong thing, the wrong version.
The wrong
Sorry.
And for those who are online, this is or who want to find this item in the Dropbox, I believe it's the MCB4 FY 2026 prelim responses to budget requests.
So you guys see
I
that?
also, yeah, yes, it looks pretty good. You can X out the side where it says all tools. Yeah, now it looks very clear.
Make it a little bigger if you can.
This is full screen. I can.
Okay. Do they have a view somewhere where you can do?
Try.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
You can zoom also, like on your Zoom client in the lower right-hand corner, there is a little tab that will typically allow you to zoom in on the screen share. Usually it has it at 50, so if you want to zoom further, that is an option, as well as accessing the item via the Dropbox.
Are we good with what we're seeing now?
Oh, we're good.
Okay.
Okay, great. So just going through those top two, we can take these two together, even though the answers are a little bit different. Specifically making sure under, this affordable housing piece that we are focusing on preservation, and that includes NYCHA. So we would, both thank and appreciate the commitments that have been made for Fulton and Elliott Chelsea, but with the, understanding that it is important to be able to follow through with that and impress upon the city of how important it is to follow through with that, and then to continue to raise the Harbor View piece.
I think it's important that we raise these repairs, in a big way.
Okay.
Because I think most of the letters from the board have been about repairs, right? And for them to tell us that they can't spend either 4 million or 7 million is, I mean, for how many years people have been waiting for that, right?
Are you talking about the Fulton Elliott Chelsea, or are you talking about the elevators from Harborview?
I have the one at Harborview, right? Isn't it with people there, right?
Right, okay, yeah, no, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same.
But they say we don't have the money. Get out of here. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, this is, I agree.
Yeah, I think we need
100%.
we should make a big stink in that letter saying this is not acceptable. Why not?
Yeah, especially since this is the site that has the RFP out.
Right.
To produce new housing on the site.
Right.
And so I agree, it should be, we should say, move, there's no excuse, move ahead, let's go start working on this project.
Really,
Yeah.
I think.
And I do think we should think, and I agree with you, Roberta, we should highlight that we appreciate that. That the NYCHA and the developers responded appropriately to our concerns about the repairs for the Fulton Elliott Chelsea, and have shifted and are doing a better job.
Yeah. I think both of those are helpful, and certainly can be connected to the broader conversation of affordable housing funding and how, important it is when we are talking about the creation of new housing to not leave behind, this very important, oft neglected source of affordable housing, permanently affordable housing, for the community.
Now you saw the answer for priority number 3, which is also about Harborview, where they say, yes, we're going to do it.
Yeah, that is
accommodate.
that is the
Yeah,
that
this
is
is confusing.
the other piece.
Yeah, they can do it.
The boilers,
Except
roof,
the
common
elevator.
area, and we put the elevator separately. And so they were a no on the elevator, but they were a yes on the other items. And we had separated them it fairly intentionally, I believe.
But the system, the way the system works is that, I mean, we could have made it all one if we wanted to, but it would have been
Mhm.
it would have been like a separate, different request,
Yeah.
and they have elevators broken out separately from the rest of the
Mhm.
capital funding, so
So
it's got its own.
my point there was that we need to recognize that they said yes to that, right?
Yeah.
But
Yes, absolutely.
we are very disappointed and if not
Yeah.
outraged that they wouldn't say yes to the other thing, right?
Yes, and I think what Jesse, mentioned, and this on to some extent probably also applies with the Fulton Elliott Chelsea project, given the master plan, you want to move forward with building new housing on the site. It is absolutely vital. We cannot leave the people who already live on this development behind if we are going to move forward with that,
And
kind of plant.
Roberta or Jesse, what conclusion, if any, could a person draw that when they say they support for Harborview, um, if you look what it was supported by the tenant association and Councilmember Gare Brewer. What was denied was supported by the tenants association, but not by a council member. So,
No, that's our submission, Gail Brewer should be listed under both.
oh,
That,
okay,
we submit that, when it says supported by, we submit who it's supported by, it was a mistake on our part. Yeah.
thanks, got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to highlight their explanation for supporting all of the other capital things are all in their 5 to 20 year plan. So I think we have to recognize that doesn't mean it's getting done to the next year or even the year after, so, I think there is some follow-up there to be done, but I do agree that that's better progress and more information than I think I've ever seen from NYCHA before on this request, so. I think we should appreciate it.
Yes, definitely a thank you and appreciation, a note both on the recognition of the like response that is positive, and then also the information can add that to the section.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess one thing I noticed about this response, Jesse, is the set of responses is there are a couple of pieces that I think are out of order. Like I didn't
Yeah,
think that we
no,
had the EMS station so
this is,
high.
I can tell that they were caught off, OMB was caught off guard to the mayor's release of the preliminary, because this is all messed up. Continued support is mixed up with regular active supports, and then the Excel spreadsheet they sent us today, like I said earlier, didn't even have the agency responses in it, so I just don't think they were prepared, so I think they schlocked this together for all of the boards very quickly, and I emailed them to say, please pull out the continued support, because it just reads and it's confusing. Because it's not the second request, it looks like it's the second priority, but it's actually what it is, it's the second continued support request.
Oh, that's the EMS, right? Okay.
That's the entirely different category. So we should ignore anything that has a CS at the end of it right now. I mean, for now, at least, if we're just focusing on the top 10 new capital requests.
So what has a CS we ignore, but we do take the one which has a C.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would apply that logic to also number 3 over here. We did have this item, the public location for green infrastructure, but unlike 4 over here, the Manhattan Cruise Terminal, it was not high up on the list. And I'm going to channel Leslie in saying that I think, we're going to have to bring up the development that's happened with the cruise terminal.
Yeah, I agree. So the next one would be 5E.
Yeah, 5 doesn't make sense because MTA has announced that they are going to do 7th Avenue. We are asking for 6 and 8. Contact the agency directly. So we don't want to say anything. It's MTA there.
I mean, this says it's not gonna support it, the agency does not support and cannot accommodate. I
Right,
gotta
right.
see, remove the request.
Yeah, right.
Get it out of my face, you don't wanna look at this request.
CS.
Okay.
So let's
All right.
continue.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's up to, I mean, I guess you would, I mean.
Yeah, I don't think
each
this
of
is.
our- Each of our sections does list, at least Roberta, you did this last year, kind of lists the things that, each of the requests that we wanted to highlight, so I don't know if that is something we wanna say, like, we strongly urge you to reconsider this request in your budget.
No, because it's MTA, and again,
Yeah.
it could be doing less and not more, right?
Okay.
In quantity. So let's focus on the things which are really big for us.
Okay, alright,
And
So-
this was big, but it's not that big.
alright.
And it fits less well into the response
Yeah.
to the preliminary budget, that it wouldn't be in there anyway.
So the next one we have is 6, which is the budget requests for the public library there for Columbus Branch. This is so.
There is some library funding. Yeah, I was confused because it was under the impression that we had gotten either
Yeah,
a
they
member
specifically asked for
funding.
this.
Yeah,
This is like, to
Like-
me, this is where it makes me think these agent responses don't actually matter, like, this confuses me so much. Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't get excited about in this letter. I wouldn't get excited about the library, right? I mean, to me, this letter should be all about affordable housing and safety, which were our big issues. So I think I would take those items which have not been responded properly on those, subject, and bring them up and say, what are you doing about those? Which are the big deals,
I'm fine with that, I also don't, yeah, I think this is a very bizarre response and requires a little more understanding from the agency, because, they supported, we requested 6 million last year, and they were like, please help us fundraise for 6 million, they got 1.5 through a different grant, so we're left with the 4.5 needed, and now they're saying they don't support it, which is just bizarre. So anyway, we can move on. So the next one is
the next one is a CS. So
well, the next one is a CS, but I don't know if I think we talked about putting slaughterhouse in it, right? I mean,
but we were going to do it in the section of the mayor, right? We don't have to redo it here as a response, right?
I'm hoping that we can mostly integrate them. So to the extent that we have that affordability section, we're bringing in our budget request. The only place where we won't bring in the budget request in dialogue with the mayor is items like the Manhattan Cruise Terminal, where the mayor hasn't started the conversation, so to speak. So there's nothing to engage with, but we still believe it is high up enough on our priority list that we want it highlighted in this preliminary response letter. Does that sound okay?
yeah, I mean, the way you have it in your letter last year was you had a couple narratives, and then you just basically listed out the things that we wanted that were not funded and we wanted that are outstanding. So I think that makes sense.
Okay. And
okay, so the next thing is Ryan, Chelsea Health. Bunch of capital ultrasound.
Well, don't they have bigger issues now? Like
probably.
They are not, they are, on the brink of something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with Christine that housing and public health are 2 top ticket items, but I know at committee we had a good discussion about trying to push forward the Ryan Chelsea Clinic Center, and especially for the first item, the city is big, as it should be, in terms of trying to address prenatal needs. Um, I don't know how strongly you might want to push back on it.
Yeah, but look, Roberta, let me just ask them again. In the letter you did last year, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, you did literally list every item that got a negative response. Is that correct?
I believe that that is what we did. Not, I don't know if we went through every single item of the like 100 between capital and expense, but of the top items, I believe that we had them. So we
Yeah, so I
could
mean,
list them.
yeah, for each section, you had a number of bullet points, so I think, I mean, this is, what?
It was in spreadsheet.
No, but I'm here, I mean, the letter, the actual letter.
This letter.
Like, I'm looking at the letter from last year, like, for example, it has parks, you have two paragraphs of the narrative. And then you also say, we also request funding for the following, and you have about 7 bullet points of different park items from our responses. So I don't think we need to worry about getting into each one of these. I think you're right to say our key, like, things should be the housing, public safety, you know, and yeah, human service stuff related to that. And then I think we could just know that these will be included into the section for like human services. Will be one of those bullet points, could be this, you know, since it was so high, it was number 7. And we don't need to argue whether it's gonna be, you know, we'll make it a big issue or not. I think we're all in agreement there.
But
We already know what big issues are gonna be.
Jesse, I mean, that calls for question the purpose of the letter we are sending out. My understanding of that letter was essentially raising, you know, the alarm, in a sense, to the elected official and saying, you need to go to bat for us, because they are going to go to meetings about the budget if they have, and they should be raising those issues. So I thought that the format should be kind of helping them do that, no?
Yes, it is. Again, I don't have any dog in this fight. I think it makes it for a leaner, meaner letter if you don't include every budget request that we can get, which is fine, which I think is easier on Roberta's shoulders. Again, so I mean, if we are gonna, that's what we're looking to do, it's completely fine. I'm just stating from last year what we did. So therefore, if we wanted to follow last year's letter, I don't think we need to necessarily feel like we're prioritizing Ryan Chelsea over the discussion of slaughterhouse. We recognize that housing will be like one of the major things. But last year, we also would have included something like this in one of the bullet points in the, you know, section under human services. So it's up to you guys. I don't know if Roberta has another point of view on it either. I mean, I think I could completely understand with the turnaround and with the speed at which we have to get this done, a leaner, meaner letter makes sense.
So why don't we split the difference and write the letter that just highlights the big major issues, and then we add as an appendix our statement of district needs from last year, and we can even cite in that opening paragraph saying, you know, we have many specific and expansive concerns which are available in the appendix or something like that, so that they're all there if our electeds want to dig into it, but then we just hit the highlights.
And we can list in that appendix the one where we have been told no, right?
That makes sense.
If we are attaching this particular document with the responses, yes, otherwise we would have to go back and sort of go through the document and pick out the ones
Yeah, it'd be
that.
the same difference, I think, in terms of the work, so I think if we're just comfortable with just attaching this document, it's JD.
I know.
Okay. He's on his own. If we're just okay with attaching the document we're looking at right now, that's fine. If we're looking to like create basically a duplication of this document. I don't think that's really worth anybody's time, but that's fine too, whichever one we wanna do.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for pointing out sort of that difference. I personally think we should go with a much more focused, because just from looking at this example of the Ryan Chelsea Clinton Health Center, I think that basically what I'm saying is, what I'm hearing is like, this is a small amount and this should be accessed in terms of funding in a very different venue. So I don't think, for example, we should mention that this was rejected, because I think there was a specific reason why this one was rejected.
Right. Okay.
That's a good point. Although most of the time they just reject us because they don't really read it.
All right, so. Roberta, what do you think?
I mean, I think that the primary body of the letter will focus on, those four key response areas. The the like homeless and social services, the safety, the affordability, focusing on housing, and the quality of life. Appended, my approach, I think we can add the statement of district needs appended. My personal approach might just be to list at the end of the letter the other rejected items and just indicate that, you can see them in the like appended document, but these are the ones that we also have interest in that sort of fall outside of our top priorities, or our highest and top priorities, so that the letter is focused, but that we don't just send them the full document and say, look at it, because I don't think they will, but just having those highlighted at the end might be a sort of easy way to make sure that they are included, but also not put too much pressure on adding detail and pulling focus from our primary issue areas.
Good point, good
Does
idea.
that sound okay?
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want me to keep on going down the list?
let's go to 10. It will be done with them pretty quickly.
Alright.
And then after 10, I think we'll probably cap that. I will then put the item available to the members of the board, and if there are items that people feel belong in that laundry list at the end that are not part of that top 10, that are not, like ranked higher, we can certainly add them. I think that would be a friendly amendment, but for the sake of minimum viable product that articulates our priorities, going with the top 10 seems like a reasonable cutoff.
All right, so 8 right now is Hartley House, which goes back to supportive housing,
Mhm.
senior housing. The next one is the multifamily loan program, and then the senior affordable rental apartment program. We've already mentioned those. Which they say the agency supports and can accommodate. Okay. I guess I'll take them at their word. And then our number 10 is our first specific school request, which I took a very quick read on trying to look at every DOE request just to look at it, because I know DOE was such a big part of the preliminary. I don't think they supported one of them of our requests. So, which is not completely surprising, but because their budget process is such a kind of insane process, but that's the 10 for capital. And so do you want to go to expense, Roberta?
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
okay, oh, yeah.
Okay, so I think we've gotten to the point of additional officers and street outreach, and then the parks police and how those fit into
Right.
the mayor's primary framework. And so unless there's
1 through 3
anything
are
anyone
solid.
wants to add. Yeah.
I think 1 through 3 are
Um,
solid.
I mean, we could add the traffic enforcement as a part of that. It's again, it's about the boots on the ground piece.
Mhm.
Also, the traffic enforcement actually fits into what they added in their safety section, was talking about
Yeah.
making furniture measures to help with traffic, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
infrastructure, so that sort of fits with the narrative the mayor already put forward.
Yeah. I think
That
the
is
only,
good.
I think number 6 also you've touched on, which is the syringe program. So
No,
I
but
think,
don't skip number 5. 5 fits with what they were saying about, strengthening the families and
Yeah.
etc. Right?
Yeah, and there were
yes,
some specific programs that they were talking about,
Yeah.
after school
Yes.
programs, et cetera, so that fits right in.
yeah,
So
we're saying that
this-
5 and 7 are both multi-school, multi-program.
right. So those 2 things we should put into the narrative with the mayor.
Okay. I guess it is a little bit outside of the initial 4 sections, but we could we could almost make it its own section on sort
Yeah.
of adjacent to quality of life or affordability, where you have the programming for youth and
But they have,
schools.
an education, well, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a school section, so I think we can. Alright, yeah.
It'll fit somewhere, because again, I
Yeah.
think it fits in with the fact that the mayor is highlighting, he's being very specific, like more lifeguards, for more opportunities for kids, 4,500 kids to go swimming, like he's very specific, so we can say, well, we have also our specific youth-related issues as well, as highlighted in our statement of district needs, we're looking at, and then you highlight both 5 and 7.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
And then number 6, we already talked about it, right? The syringe.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll go back into the quality of life parks and
And now we're back to the Ryan Clinic. But
Yeah.
they can address alternative. How does that work?
Alternative. Yeah, they like to change up their language. Like, the agency does not support this, but can address it in need alternatively. Remove request. You're done.
That one's consistent. Remove it all.
So-
In fact, delete.
The only thing which is consistent is remove request.
That's what we just said. They're very good at that. Okay, so, yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, I think this goes to Roberta, how you wanna manage it at the end,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then,
That's it. The other 2 are yes.
Mhm.
Well, the problem with 9 is that it tells us to remove it, but we've already had a commitment from the agency that they would address it. So,
right, well, they're saying we're gonna do it so you can remove it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we will also say, thank you for this commitment. We, look forward to seeing the results, making sure that we are able to see the results, holding the city accountable, whatever it is,
Yeah.
to.
continuing support sort of section.
Yeah.
But we want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one is all you, Christine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's
So
fine.
what does that mean? Does that mean when they say
Yeah.
agency supports and can accommodate?
No, they are
does that
doing
mean
it.
actually- So we can remove it?
Don't remove anything now, next year, right? We're not removing anything at this point. I mean,
I mean,
Got it.
you want to
Got
connect it to the safety piece where you have
no, that's fine. They
the,
said they are doing
Yeah.
it, and I know they are doing
Yeah.
it, so don't worry.
so we
about it.
can say thank you for doing the traffic and parking
Oh,
study.
you don't have to say anything.
Okay.
Well, I think Roberta would like to do a couple thank yous, is what she's saying.
Well,
Saying that-
I mean, if we're for consistency's sake, it also fits in nicely with the street furniture piece. So
Yeah,
it's sort of
Yeah, I
fits
mean, if
in
it's a win, it's a
logically.
win,
So,
right? Let's say it's a win.
you can
Yes.
say that. You can say that definitely.
yes.
All right,
Okay.
so real quickly, Dolores wanted to see what number 11 was.
So it's DOB related, we can
Yeah,
just add it in there.
Yeah. All right,
And DOE related.
Yeah.
Just coming back to the schools ones, just looking back at the DYCD particular, that was the aftercare one. They basically said these schools need to do an RFP because we already have existing funding that they can tap into. I mean, are we,
I think I suggested this to Josephine just because this literally came out last week. Like I said, I think it would be good to put the school, the requests from DOE SCA on the agenda for this month.
yeah,
For ACES,
because if they
because
say we have submitted the RFPs and we haven't even got, they haven't responded or we never got this,
Right,
then
I
we
think,
need to.
I think ACES should take a special look at these responses and come up with its own response. It'll be outside of the comment period for the preliminary, but that doesn't stop us having a conversation with the agency to say, what does this really mean?
Even for go forward, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one, as it related to school, was, it was a safety related issue, because we wanted the doors and locks renewed, so yes, it's within a school, but it is related to safety. So I don't know if we wanna sort of, spin it and put it under safety.
They're gonna handle it separately.
Yeah, which one was that? That was a specific.
Well, you want to
school.
put it
That
under
was the lab school,
education.
right? That was the lab school. That was
Yeah,
number 10.
yes.
Yes, I mean, it's up to you, Roberta, how you would like to categorize that, but yeah, I mean, makes a good point. If we're talking about public safety, even though I understand it's a specific school, I mean, it does allude to that topic. But,
We can certainly use it to transition. I am inclined to keep the school things together, but I can kind of use them for transition purposes. So we
yeah, I
can
mean, I think
maybe try and do
recognize
that.
that public safety expands beyond the streets and cops, right? We're saying it
Yeah.
goes to parks, it goes to the schools.
So there's a great way to do that in the opening, to say that we agree with the mayor that public, that safety is of the highest, paramount concern for New Yorkers. And that is safety on our streets, in our subways, in our parks, and in our schools. And so that's like a blanket statement, and then those specific areas then highlighted later on in the letter. So you're just saying, we're concerned about safety, and they may end up going to different agencies to solve for where the safety issues are.
I'm sorry, but I have to go to the the exec committee, so I'm leaving you.
Lucky for you, you can get here so quickly. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Very good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Roberta, we do have two people in the public section, attendees, and I just want to make sure if they did have anything to add or any questions, that this would be your time to do
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, feel free to
So-
raise your hand and Jesse could
Yeah.
bring you over if you have any interest. There's no requirement, but you can absolutely speak on this. Other than that, I think that we have the framework of a letter and it will be available for everyone's review at latest on Friday. Though I would, my hope is somewhat sooner, but that will, obviously we're working on a tight timeline over here. It will focus primarily on the four, and then fifth would be education of the mayor's focus areas. It will also list some of our outstanding items that received a negative response. And it will, and looking forward to working with you in future to address these needs. Thank you for your continuous support, et cetera, et cetera. And that I think is going to be the framework of the letter, very much, our previous asks just framed up in the context of this mayoral budget.
So just a technical question, this will go as new business, at the full board meeting?
Yeah,
This would be new business, yes.
you listed under new business. Because it did not.
That's what I'm for.
Not
Yeah.
tonight, you don't have any issue with exec, didn't 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Great.
And if there's anything else that comes to mind, please reach out. Happy to incorporate it into the letter framework, but I'm glad that we could have the discussion and sort of work out how we'd like to organize this.
Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you guys
Okay.
for showing up. Appreciate
Yeah,
your
thank you.
volunteer work.
Take care.
Take
Bye,
care.
Kevin.
Ciao, ciao.
All right. I think that we're good to adjourn in that case.
We are, all righty. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Bye.